Hello guys, welcome back. So I want to thank you guys for, two of you threw in the chip jar and I appreciate that. I've had people, do a lot of stuff on Patreon recently. Most of you guys are pretty great and it's awesome, but it's been kind of a hard year. I had one person double dip. First Patreon was telling me, yeah, they paid for their first month, they're good, and they left on the 21st this month, and they didn't pay for the month. Not even a little bit. Not like, hey, dude, I just feel like I've given you everything I have. That's what they said in their exit survey, and I'm like, well, if that's what you wanted, you gave me for the first month because they were there from the first. I'm like, you knew you took 21 days you didn't intend to pay for. Not cool, bro. I wish you hadn't done that. But I guess I don't know. They thought they deserved it or something because they paid me once. But yeah, they got basically they got the month free because I'll never see that money. And I was kind of upset. I was talking to one of you and I said, I'm kind of, I'm bummed out when people do that because I said I've moved the bulk of the content over to the community tab. There's really no reason for anybody to go over to Patreon and do that. It's like most of the stuff is here, and my patrons are wonderful and they're okay with that. I'm like, vast majority of it is over here because we just had such rampant thievery that I asked the patrons that were with me, and my patrons are wonderful. I said, do you guys mind if I just move it to the community tab? That'll cut off the middleman. Maybe we won't have so many ding dong ditchers because you start to make plans with that money. And, my patrons were wonderful and they were like, yeah, go ahead, doesn't matter. And it's kind of a shame that people do that, but whatever. But I thank you too that, threw some money in the pot. That's really appreciated and it does help out. And, somebody asked me a question about Asmodeus about does he not like hunting? I thought he liked hunting because I had Reddit associated with him. But unfortunately, I saw it on that site and I saw another site listed, but they could have just copied that site. So I thought I had my two verified resources and maybe I didn't. And he was the one pushing for the game. And long story short, I think he just did not think this through. We had been playing those free hunting games and I was getting little blips. I should have known. I was getting little blips because video games don't work like real hunts, obviously. And this one game we were playing was really broken, and this fox just started to wig out. You know how sometimes you shoot something in a game and it just goes bonkers? Yeah. Loki had to come in and take over, and he was like, okay, you shot it. Now it was going bonkers and jumping all over the map because it was broken. And he's like, you gotta get this. You gotta get this fox. So you get this dog that's just going around aggravating everything. A dog's going at this fox, and the fox got stuck on absolutely nothing. It was running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in place, and the dog's the poor fox. I had to shoot it like 10 or 20 times before the game sensed I shot the fox, and by then, there wouldn't have been much of a fox left to be claimed, but the poor fox. I felt bad. That was like the only time I felt bad in one of these games. But Loki was like, you had to put that poor thing out of its misery. I mean, yeah, it broke. We knew it was a NPC in a game that broke, but still, it was like he had to put it out of its misery. The poor thing. And I am running out of coffee because I've been trying this for a while. And it was one of those things. And, one of you that threw into the tip jar thanked me for talking about, Loki as a father. And he's being really, he will step back from any other relationship and he will be really fatherly with you. So it doesn't matter anything else I have with him. And this hunting game is bringing out the father in him, and it's definitely a thing of, okay, darling child of mine, I'm going to make sure you know how to use a gun. It reminds me just of my dad teaching me. He's like, we're gonna make sure you know how to use these weapons. We're gonna make sure you know how to use them right. We're going to, anytime you're doing really poorly on a hunt for whatever reason, we're gonna keep going back to the range, and you're gonna keep checking and see what's going on. And sometimes we figured out this game's pretty glitched in a lot of places. You'll be dead on with the bow, and there's no reason you shouldn't have got the shot, and it doesn't register. I don't know why. There must be some secret spot in the map it wants you to shoot the animal at specifically, and it's just not telling us that. But he's been the hunting dad of, okay, here's how you line up your shot. And, Odin's doing it too. Odin's getting very fatherly, and they're dead serious, even though it's a game. And they're like, wait, wait, wait. I know you see that clock, but wait, wait, wait. And they want this to go as successful as possible. And the teaching, nurturing fathers are coming out. And, Big Brother and Thor is coming out, and Thor hopped on the moose hunt. Odin was leading on that one, and it wasn't working to do it the way the game said. And Odin said, "What's your instinct?" And I said, "Go left." Only told me I couldn't do this, and he's like, "I don't care. Follow your instinct, even if it's a game." That turned out to be the solution. And I was looking right through the scope at the moose, and I could feel Asmodeus's dismay because he was popping in and out. And Thor was with me. He's like, "Sissy, this is what you're out here for. Go ahead, take the shot." He's standing still. He said he could run or he could charge. He said, "Go ahead. It's a beautiful shot. You've got him right in the head." And the moose just fell over. Thankfully, thank the gods, the moose just went ploof. And he was so proud of me, and Odin and Thor were proud, and Loki was like, "I'm proud of you." He said, "I felt those tender feelings you had because the moose was looking at you with those big moose eyes." He says, "I'm proud of you. You pushed that aside because the game had kind of made it clear you were out here for animal management because there were just too many moose, and you needed to take some out or they'd all starve to death." And the game was pretty clear you were doing a good thing. You weren't just out here to do target practice. And he's helping me work through the feelings. I was elated and amazed and everything else, and I was still like, "Oh, poor moose." And he's okay with that. He knows I've gone from where my stance was to where I would have never even played hunting games to where I was always okay with duck hunt for some reason, or fishing games. But he knows this is a huge step for me, and he's being the father to walk me through it. And he every time we've gone out, we've got something. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just a game." I said, the gun sounded maybe kind of loud, or it was just startling when the animal fell over. The worst part is when you shoot them and it was a good shot, but this game tries to be realistic, so they run. And there's a blood trail, and we're trailing the animal, and he's like, this is just part of hunting. It's okay." And I said, "I just feel bad it just didn't fall over." He goes, "I know, but that happens." He said, it's adrenaline, and it's just an automatic response. They got hit, and you did a good hit. You can do a heart or a lung hit. I'm sorry for grossing out the non-hunters. They'll still run in this game, and they'll run a distance, and you have to like follow them. And he's like, it's okay, because he knows I want to cry because I'm like, I put the animal in pain. He's like, "No, it's just adrenaline. It should have dropped, but the adrenaline kicked in, and it's just running." He's like, "It's running. It's almost, not even alive. It's just the adrenaline has to run out, and once the adrenaline runs out, it drops over." So he's walking me through that, and he's like, "It's okay. It's normal." And he got really angry because Asmodeus just has not had a good reaction to this. And I don't know why, because it was Asmodeus's idea for me to go hunting. Um, I think it scared Asmodeus when I shot a moose. Frankly, he's a big, brave demon, but the fact that I'm out there shooting moose and bear, I think it scared him. And I'm like, he knows women hunt, right? He knows there are women that shoot moose and bear and wolves and all these other big, bigger animals all the time. And it's nothing unique. It's not like I'm the only female ever to do it. And I just think he hasn't seen that part of me. That part of me that, yeah, is excited to go out, excited for the a lot of hunters don't like calling it a sport, but excited for the challenge. Let's put it that way, excited for the challenge. And after I shoot the animal, I'm not like jumping up and down, even if it's a video game, and going, "Yeah, I shot an animal." I'm like, "Yes, food for the table." And yes, it went down fast. That was a good hunt. I'm like, I'm happy that the animal just killed over instantly. And, if it were real, that is food for the winter, and that is one heck of a trophy for the trophy room. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not like celebrating that I shot some poor animal. It's like it's gonna go anyways. So we're treating this dead serious. And it's definitely bringing out the hunting dad in Loki. And Loki makes a full thing of it. He has me make coffee, and he has me get like little snacks because Most of these are timed. There are a few that aren't
Mm.
timed, but on the ones that are even on timed, sometimes the game, to make it challenging, just makes the animal run down the clock. Um, he'll have me have coffee and little snacks, and we'll sit there in our stand or blind or whatever we're hunting from, and we'll have our snacks, or sometimes we'll go into the hunting area and we'll be like, yeah, we're not shooting today, and we'll just for 4 or 5 minutes look at nature and have our coffee and have a couple of snacks. And technically, we're starting to do that. We're starting to almost not break the game, but he has agreed. I've gotten enough animals. He's content. Like, we can take the 4 or 5 minutes they give us and jog around the map and explore these beautiful areas. He's just as happy with that. He's just like, just remember, there are bears and wolves. Yeah, you'll be on a moose hunt and you'll hear all these bears and wolves, and you're like, I just have this tiny twig. All of a sudden, your big, powerful firearm feels like this tiny twig because you're hunting these moose, and they're out there, and you just it just finally clicks for you. And I've been in the woods all my life, and I've been around bears and coyotes and that all my life, not like close up, but they're out there, but it's not like this game. Sometimes you're lucky if you see one. And it's one of those things where, I became very aware for the first time. I'm out in the woods and there's all these bears and, moose and wolves out here with me. It clicked in a way it never did in real life. And Loki's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I wanted to tell you that about going in the woods, but he was like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, they're out here. And I always knew they were out there, but I grew up in a hunting area. I grew up in an area where the animals are usually they're pressed back from, especially in the park where I go to the woods, they're pressed back out of that area. So it's usually pretty rare to see anything other than maybe a rabbit or birds, or you'll see turkey closer. Seeing a bear is like super unlikely. Seeing a deer this close to people is like a once in a lifetime thing, even though I've been told they've grazed in my yard. It's just you don't expect to see that in the woods around here, though you're careful and you take stuff with you. You just normally don't expect to see it, but this game really brought it home that, yeah, stupid. I did have one bear encounter once in the park, but I gave the bear space and I said, "Hey," and the bear just kind of stopped, and I heard, and he wasn't coming out of the bush, and I'm like, I would actually rather it be a bear than some crazy person. So I hope it is a bear. And I just gave him his space, and he gave me my space, and we were fine. And I would walk with the cane because you weren't allowed to have a weapon in the thing, but it was enough like a shotgun that, the animals will be like, I see you have that magic stick. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not going to mess with you. So, it's like, it really brought it home. And Loki's like, yep, you've been in that park with the coyotes and the bears, and you know how to handle yourself, and your dad taught you. And he says, you've been safe through the blessing of the gods, but yeah, you've been out there all this time with bears and coyotes, and it just brought it home. So he's amused. But he's the hunting dad now, until we do something else. He was also the driving dad, giving me instructions as we're driving those trucks and cars, and in a good way. Asmodeus panics. He's listed as this big, strong, confident demon, but with me, he goes into a lot of panics for some reason. I think I got this more tendery, gentle side, and some people do. And with me, look, he's like, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do it right. So, with the driving, the trucks and the hunting and everything, he's dead serious. But it's definitely Loki the dad coming out, and he's really proud his little girl got all these animals. So now he's just content for us to goof around in the game until we go to the next title. He's not a completionist with me. In fact, he saw I was a completionist on games, and he's like, that's why you didn't love video games anymore. You were making sure you got your money's worth, and you were making sure, like, there's like this old standard, might have even raised now for what stuff costs, about getting like an hour for every dollar you spent. So if you spent $50 on a game, you should expect to get at least 50 hours. Loki's like, let's look at it this way. If you play it and you love it and it was awesome, it doesn't matter if you played it for 20 minutes. You got your $50 worth. And I'm enjoying that approach a lot more because we can play something, really enjoy it, and then walk away from it for a couple weeks or whatever, and then go back to it and play another 20 minutes. It doesn't matter, how much time we get out of it. We know we're never going to get whatever, however many hours out of this series. We're probably just not. But we're okay with it. And like with the other stuff we buy, he's like, don't worry about what you paid. Worry about getting enjoyment out of it and don't be a completionist. And I'm having a lot more fun playing video games again. He's having fun too. So, excuse me, we get these games and now we're playing them to when we're like, okay, I've seen enough, and we're not playing them anymore. And that's a lot more enjoyable for me and for him. And now he's going to get to go on the safari for me. I got a safari. Don't worry, it's not that kind of safari for Asmodeus. And no, actually, no, no, no. I got that for Loki. I got that for Loki, and Loki's like, yes, safari in VR. And you're tranquilizing animals. You're not shooting the animals, but it Asmodeus lost his stomach for the hunt. He can't anymore, and he can't with me. And it's the aspect I got. Usually he's really tough and he's rugged and he would love to hunt and you would probably have to keep up, and he won't, people will say he'll go into combat and he'll fight with them the way, or spar with them the way Odin spars with me, but he won't fight with me and he won't go hunting with me, and it's just I can feel it churning his stomach and I'm getting squeamish, and I'm like, well, that's just the aspect I got. And with Odin, he's like, "No, we're going to do this. We're going to do whatever you're doing." So they're both being dads now. Second two dads, which is fine. And they kind of, Asmodeus took himself away, but they kind of told Asmodeus that's not acceptable. You're the one who, they gave him a dressing down. They're like, "You're the one who wanted her to hunt. You're the one who coaxed this out of her, even though it was always in me. You're the one who got her to be passionate about the hunt. Don't you abandon her now that she's doing this, and game or no game, don't you abandon her now that she's doing this and you suddenly don't like it because she's doing what you wanted her to do." So, Loki's been yelling quite a lot. And they're right. He took me out there, and then he lost his stomach for it, and he almost doesn't want me to do it right now. And they're like, "Oh no, oh no, you're having fun. You don't give this up because he doesn't want you to." So they told Asmodeus, to pack his little demon bags. He'd come back in, obviously, but they told him, they said, "Pack your little demon bags. You're going away for a while because you don't get to do this. You don't get to get her to be open to this and then act like she did the worst terrible thing." Because right now I'm at that stage where I need the support. I need someone to say, "That's okay. What you just did, it's okay. You're not an abomination. It's not terrible." Asmodeus was like, "How could you?" And they're like, "That is absolutely the last thing she needs to hear right now." So very protective dad came out of Loki, and believe me, you don't tell his kids that they're bad because they went hunting. And same thing with Odin. He's like, "No, absolutely not." So I've noticed a lot of adorable stuff is popping up in my feed, like a mother-daughter bear hunt, and it was amazing. The girl was 8, and she got a bear. 8 or 11. It's been like a trend. Not Asmodeus. YouTube's like, "Oh, you like to watch families go hunt together? That's sweet. Here you go." And it's been really wonderful to watch people taking their kids out, because I wish I had got to do that with my dad, and my dad just was, well, I guess kind of like Asmodeus is acting now. He taught me how to shoot and everything, but he wouldn't hunt. But Loki's kind of taking that fatherly role of, yes, let's go to the hunting, the shooting range, but you're learning to shoot because you're learning to shoot a weapon. My dad was like, just learn to shoot for safety. And like, as Loki's like, no, you're learning to shoot so you're shooting these things. These things aren't for self-defense. These things are for hunting. Let's go. So, that's what we're doing. And he's being really wonderful and supportive about it. We made chili late last night, and we threw Tabasco sauce and everything in it. So we've been having hunter chili and going on hunts and watching hunting videos. Not all the time. We've been driving trucks and playing a silly cat video where you make these mazes for the cat to walk through and stuff like that. But, we're having fun. But again, thank you to the people that threw something in the jar. It helps. It really does. I just think that people anymore, they're not as thoughtful as they used to be, and they don't realize that, you're taking whatever time you're taking putting that stuff together, and I take the time to put stuff together for the community tab, and I vet it with the gods to see, should I put this in community or should I put this in Patreon? And pretty so far they've been, and the patrons have been like, go ahead, put it in the community tab, because a lot of people were just going into Patreon and stealing. It's not just me, it's everybody over there. And I think a lot of people are starting to do that. And I know people I used to listen to, you can tell they're leaving YouTube because Patreon just wasn't working. And they have founded their own, for like people that read stories, they're founding their own platforms, and you either pay to get in or you don't get the content. And there's no money back because you didn't like what you got. And Patreon doesn't have those protections for us. Somebody could pay you upfront, and if they decided after getting the whole month they weren't satisfied, they could demand their money back. So I don't have people pay upfront. I'm actually not able to because I don't have a cell phone. And it's a weird security thing. And I just have to hope and pray that when somebody, jumps in, that they're going to do the honorable thing and show, stand around and, pay. If they're not going to, at least have the decency to say, hey, I wanted to check it out. I would expect somebody apologizing and saying, they just don't have the money. But, it's people just come in, especially it's more problematic with people that come in for like $5 and up. Not always those people are usually pretty wonderful, but the worst two I've had was a $5 one, $25 one, where they were just like, yeah, I'm coming in and I'm waving this money around and I want your attention, but I'm going to end up not paying you at the end of the month. So, that's kind of problematic because you're like, you don't give them special treatment. I don't give anybody on Patreon special treatment. I don't give you guys, but it is kind of problematic that some people are kind of like, they didn't intend to pay you in the first place is what the problem is. It's not the amount of money they're showing you, it's they came in bad faith, and that's kind of what, bums you out, makes you not want to try. But most of my patrons are wonderful, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful again for the people that put stuff in the tip jar. And I'm thankful for you guys because you're usually wonderfully supportive. I mean, I've gotten a couple people lately. I got somebody that was trolling me, a couple people pretty bad. And I got people that you don't know if they're looking for help or they're having fun yanking your chain, and you get stuff. I got someone that I think they really had a problem that the hunting thing came up on the channel. But I'm like, people grow and change, and if people can't accept as you grow and change, that's okay. I was vegan for a while. Not on this channel, but I was vegan for a part of my life. But we all grow and change all throughout our life. So it's you have to kind of learn to accept that people do that. People were not, as Loki once told me, we're not characters from a book, and even a character should grow and change. And they might start off a big game hunter, that's usually a trope, and then they become a conservationist. And I've watched people in real life that started out working in zoos and being conservationist and taking care of baby animals. There was this one lady, and she finally came around to hunting. It took many years. She fell in love with this guy, and he was a hunter, and it took years, many years, but he made sure she did all the right things. She went to camp and everything, and he was kind of taking on that role of making sure she was okay, and now she loves it. And Loki's stepping up and taking on that fatherly role. So is Odin, so is Thor. So I have the two dads, my two dads and my big brother take me hunting. And they're making sure I'm okay, and they're making sure every single time. They don't care if it's a video game. They're like, "Are you okay? Are you right? Do you need a moment? Do you need to talk about your feelings? Are you okay?" So they're being really sweet. So it's really nice and nurturing. So we hope you guys like what you see. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bye bye.